So before we get into the actual product presentation and going over all those points Brenda mentioned, I do have just a short PowerPoint to go over some of the main points. And I am obviously in a different location than Brenda. There was construction going on above me up until a week ago, so you are very fortunate. You will not be hearing loud banging coming from my side. So a little bit about CADLearning and the value. We look at it as really a single source of truth for Autodesk learning. The library is focused on Autodesk applications, and we really work closely with Autodesk to ensure that you're getting the tutorials based on the design intent of the tool. Our application can truly cover, especially in our enterprise version, the full employee life cycle of an employee, from the time someone is hired and onboarding them to fill in their gaps, upskilling into new applications, as well as retaining by providing different learning and career paths within CADLearning to help support those. Something that's very unique to us is the way we can provide hyper-personalized, targeted content to the CADLearning user, where you can focus on specifically the areas where you do have gaps or where you do need to become a little bit more knowledgeable on how to use an application. Part of CADLearning and part of the CADLearning subscription is our in-application tool called CADLearning Assist. It resides right in the Autodesk application, and as you're working through it, literally looks at what you're doing and says, oh, I see you're trying to insert a wall. Here are lessons that can help you with that. So I'll go through that as we go into the presentation. And then lastly, we also offer, as part of our solution, goal-based learning that can be aligned to specific jobs and competencies, and also out of the box is aligned to Autodesk certification paths. We'll go through those in the presentation as well. One other thing that's very unique to CADLearning, I haven't seen anybody do it specifically the way we do it, is our assessment engine is integrated with our CADLearning lessons in our libraries. So when someone takes any type of assessment in CADLearning, it's going to bring you a personalized learning plan specifically to your gaps. So it's great at the user level to understand and just focus on the areas you need to learn, but also at the organization level to understand where are the gaps amongst your users, and then being able to focus on those specific areas, but making sure that each individual is getting a personalized plan. So what's in it for you in terms of using a tool like CADLearning? First of all, faster time to proficiency. You're going to have video tutorials that are short, to the point, that go through things in a step-by-step manner so that it's clear and understandable and help you get up to speed in the software quicker. As I mentioned, we work closely with Autodesk, so our answers are vetted. We're an Autodesk authorized publisher, and Autodesk reviews our content on a regular basis. We provide content that's specific to the job that you're doing, whether you're a drafter, a designer, an engineer. The content is relative to your position. There are learning paths that can help you move up to the next level. So if you're a manager, there's a number of benefits. Understanding where the gaps are. If you're managing hundreds of users or even 20 users, 10 users, you want to understand where your users have gaps in the applications and provide a path for them to bridge those gaps. There are reporting and analytic tools that can help you gain insight into where people are at and understand what their progress is. In our enterprise solution, we give you the tools to customize CADLearning to fit your specific needs, to add your special sauce in, to provide to your users. So again, to give them that one source to go to for their learning. And if you're responsible for supporting your users, a resource that you can utilize or you can send your users to get that support, that how-to and you can focus on the areas that are more problem-solving type or workflow type areas. So we want to keep your workers productive, and I think that's the goal of any application. And in this particular example, we use CADLearning Assist, but really as far as CADLearning, any way you access it, whether it's through our mobile apps, whether it's through the CADLearning portal through Microsol, or through CADLearning Assist in the application, the results are the same. We use a really simple example to illustrate how you can maximize your billable time with CADLearning. In our example, we have 10 Autodesk users, 10 designers, and what we often see, even in today's remote environment, we're still interrupting our coworkers. We're not tapping them on the shoulder or nudging them, but we're still contacting them on Teams or Zoom or whatever application you may use, and interrupting each other's workflow. So as soon as that happens, it's in our example, 20% of the team is no longer billable because they've stopped. And if you think about the real cost associated with that, they're really hidden costs, because I don't think we often think about when someone needs help, what happens. But 20% of your team, that billable hourly rate, the time it takes, your overhead, that's all money lost that can't be got back. And what happens is they don't actually remember the answer until you do it a couple times, so you're doing it over and over again. So we use CADLearning Assist as the solution to that problem, but again, any part of CADLearning can provide the same result. Almost there. Before we go into the actual demonstration, Microsol Resources has 3 levels of CADLearning that they can offer to you. The first is what we call universal access. That's access to the full CADLearning library. So you get access to every title in our library, and there are 40 plus. All of our stock assessments that are pre-done assessments for you. Ability to create your own playlist and share them with other CADLearning users, search, CADLearning Assist, and also our mobile apps for iOS and Android that are available through their respective stores. The next level up is what we call a partner managed portal. And in this instance, you get everything an individual subscriber would have in that universal access, plus your own custom branded portal just for your users. You can manage your users, you get reporting capabilities, and if you want to get into the customization features, you can work with Microsol Resources to do that for you. So they have that ability. In the customer managed portal, that's the next level up. Everything in the universal, everything in your partner managed portal, but you hold the keys to the car and you're able to come in and customize content, customize our assessments, and so forth. Add subcontractors into your portal if you like. And again, it's a private branded portal just for you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end my show here. And let's go ahead and bring up CADLearning. Sure, I picked the right site here. And just so I don't distract myself, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. Whoops. Wrong thing. You're still seeing my screen, correct, Brenda?
That is correct. Not you anymore.
Excellent. Okay, so I am now logged into CADLearning. I am logged into our production site where our subscribers come to, just like any other user would. So this is me here at the top, Danny. And if I click on this, I can see my user profile and recent activity and so forth. When I log in, I have the option to select a goal, and I'm going to come back to these, or I can go to the library. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and click on library. I've set preferences in my library, and any user can. So you do get access to the full CADLearning library. But if you know your main focus is just several different Autodesk applications, you can go ahead and set that preference. We do include in CADLearning our own tutorials, so everything that I'm going through today, there are also a full library of tutorials available to step you through that. So user tutorials would be right here, and we go through everything for you. I'm going to start off today by choosing Revit. It seems to be a tool that a lot of firms are using. Some firms are still migrating to. It's very popular, and we'll try to jump into some other libraries as well so you can get a look at those. So when I select a product, each of these tiles in the library represent different Autodesk products. I then come to the product and I can select the release I'm working with. So I'll stay with 2021, our current release. And then in terms of how things are laid out in the library, all laid out in major topics, and then within every one of my topics are the individual lessons. Our Revit library is a one-box course, just the way Autodesk delivers it. So Revit architecture, structure, and MEP are all part of the library, and then also the core pieces of Revit that most everybody would use. So as you can see, there's 1,008 lessons in the Revit library. There's a lot, and I'm going to show you some tricks on how you can get to just what you need. If I'm a new user, I'm probably going to start with getting started and go right from there and understand the ribbon and all the other tools within Revit. So let's go ahead and just take a look at a video in my topics here. So when I click on a link, it launches the video. And I'm going to go ahead. The instructor is talking here. And go ahead and turn off those closed captionings. There are closed captionings. And apparently I have a couple languages here in this scenario. But as you can see, as the instructor is talking, there's a scrolling narration that goes along with it. There are call outs and highlights that go along with the lesson, so you always know exactly where the instructor is. The majority of our videos are 2 to 5 minutes in length, so they're designed so you can come in, get the answer you need, and get back to work. It's also the amount of information that we can retain. Some of our lessons do go a little longer because we want to make sure we're completing a complete task in the lesson. So you don't have to go to another lesson to find out how to do something. You can speed the instructor up or slow the instructor down. So if I were a new user, I might want to slow the instructor down. A more experienced user may want to speed it up. You can click anywhere in the narration to get to that point in the video. So if you know you just need one little piece, you can get right to it. And if you want to go in a full screen mode, you'd simply click the full screen icon. Again, there are closed captionings as well, so that works well in the full screen mode. Or if you're someone who English may not be your first language, closed captioning works well. We do have available language packs as well for CADLearning, so and that's generally available in our enterprise version. Go ahead and go back into my Revit library. And please, as we go along, if there are questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We will be going through them towards the end of the presentation, so please don't hesitate to put questions in the chat. A couple other things I want to point out here in the library. We mentioned assessments and targeted learning paths. There's a number of different ways in CADLearning that you can do quick self-checks on yourself. Our out-of-the-box assessments in the library, most of the product titles have an overall knowledge assessment, which is recall-based, multiple choice questions. And then there's also a skills assessment. The skills assessment is hands-on. So you have to actually open up a file in the application, perform some type of function or task before you can answer that assessment question. These assessments cover the full breadth of the application. And then we also give you the ability to create quick playlist assessments, and when we get into goals, I'll show you the badges and medallions, and there's assessments at those levels as well, all geared towards letting you get to a personalized learning path based on your gaps. The resources is going to provide links for exercise files as well as links for the assessment. So you'd find those resources here, and on every lesson, it also indicates to you what file is needed if you want to get that hands-on practice along with the instructor experience. So a few other things I'd like to just touch on in the library is a lot of people use CADLearning for A to Z learning, but they also come in because they want to be able to either refresh on something or learn something new, or they just don't know how to do something, so it's to get quick support help. So you can filter down in CADLearning to get specifically to some items. So before we got on the line, I created a playlist called Railing. So I just simply typed in the term I'm looking for. It immediately filters down to just those lessons. And now, especially if I'm trying to learn something new and I just want to have it available to me, I might want to have it available in the application too. Any playlist I create actually will load in to CADLearning Assist in the application, so it's available there as well. It's now grabbed all those videos for me, and I have a playlist created. So I can go through each of these playlists one at a time, work along with the instructor. And oh, by the way, at the end of it, it actually builds me an assessment that I can go through. So just based on what's in this particular playlist. I'm not going to go through this whole assessment. I will show you a completed one, but just so you can see what some of the questions look like. They can be true, false, multiple choice, fill in the blank, and so forth. And I'm just going to go ahead and save and exit. But when I complete any type of assessment, as I mentioned in the presentation, it actually is going to go ahead, see if I can get to my transcript here, and create me a personalized learning plan. So this is my transcript of all the assessments I've taken. I do a lot of demos. But I'm going to go ahead to one that I completed this morning before we got on the line, and this is it. And as you can see, it's telling me how many I got right versus wrong in the assessment that I took. And then it looks at each one of the questions that I answered incorrectly and recommends the lessons that I should go watch. So I can then grab all of these lessons, drop them right into a playlist. So I'm going to call this my medallion assessment. Create it, and now I have that available to me. It becomes my personal learning plan that I can work through as I need to. And again, it creates an assessment for me so that I can make sure that I'm closing my gaps and do that knowledge check, and it's iterative, so I can do it as many times as I need to. The playlist functionality has a lot of capabilities. It gives you the ability, if you're a manager, someone's asking you a question, you can drop the video right into a playlist and share it. If you want to represent a quick workflow, you can grab from any part of the library. So I could go to BIM 360, grab a couple lessons, go into Revit, grab a few related lessons to whatever a person may be doing, drop it in a playlist and share it. So very simple. We recently released PlanGrid, so anybody out there looking for PlanGrid content, we do have a whole new library for PlanGrid as well. So that is the user experience. I'm going to now go back to my home page. I said we revisit the goals because it's a little bit different. In the library, as you watch videos, things are going to check off for you. You can take your playlist assessments as well. The goal-based learning is a little different. It's competency driven. So I don't get credit for anything until I actually answer the assessment questions that go along with my lessons correctly. So out of the box, we provide the Autodesk certification paths. They are aligned specifically to those certification paths for users and professionals and address every single one of the learning objectives and competencies required. And then we do have some examples of job-based or role-based paths as well. The role-based paths, we provide a few out of the box. Working with an enterprise and Microsol, we can also develop customized role-based learning for your users. So I'm going to go ahead and select Energy Analysis Specialist. And you'll see my screen is going to change a little bit. And now I have a little bit of a different user interface. And these goals can be assigned by administrators. So those of you that are in a portal would have that capability. But each day, I have a pop quiz question I can answer. Every lesson is associated with an assessment question. So if I answer the quiz question correctly, it's going to eliminate that lesson from my path. It's going to say, she knows how to do that. We're not going to make her watch something she doesn't need to do. I did not. I very rarely answer one right. I am not a Revit or Insight user. In the center of the screen, it's looking at where I am in my path, and it's saying, okay, these are the next lessons that it makes sense for you to look at. And then I have a progress bar that gives me a sense of where I'm at in my goal. I also have a progress palette similar to my playlist palette that I can also work from. So this is my main goal, Energy Analysis Specialist. And then it's broken down into what is the content? What does this person need in order to do their job? What are the competencies needed? So the goal is the analysis specialist, and then it's broken down into medallions, which represent those major competencies that are needed, and then broken down to the individual tasks by badge. So these are the badges, and as I work through this, my badges fill in and roll up. At every level, there are assessments available. So maybe you're going through the Revit Certified Professional and you want to hone things down to just what you need. You might want to start at the goal level, take the assessment, and then work through your badges based on what is not checked off in your learning path. So I have a medallion model preparation here for energy analysis. I've started, I've completed some. You can see there's some lessons checked off. But again, the only way these things check off is if I answer the questions correctly in the assessment. The assessment is same format as anywhere else in CADLearning. You have the same ability to build a playlist, or you can simply go back to your goal and work through it. And I'm just going to go, oh, just one last question. I'll go ahead and complete the assessment. So as you can see, again, I get that transcript. It's letting me know you answered 2 questions right. So those, whatever lessons were associated will be eliminated from my path, and I can keep working. So that is the goal-based learning. We don't force you into either path. You have the ability as a user to come in and use CADLearning as you see fit. Last thing I want to show from a user perspective is CADLearning Assist. So I'm running AutoCAD 2021 here. And this palette is adjustable. This is CADLearning Assist. It runs with any AutoCAD-based applications, so AutoCAD Civil 3D, MEP, Autodesk Architectural, Revit, Inventor, and Navisworks. So, and on the horizon, we have a plugin that will be available for the browser-based products like BIM 360. So the way CADLearning Assist works is pretty elegant, and this palette is adjustable and so forth, but I'm a little mouse challenged, so I'm not going to mess with it. But you'll see as I move through the application, it's going to present me with different lessons based on what I'm doing. I have search available. This is a global search, so it's going to look through the entire CADLearning portal for answers. You also have the library here. If you're looking for an answer on a question, I recommend you come here. You can filter down just like you can in the CADLearning portal. It's literally bringing in that whole experience right in the plugin. So if I wanted to know how to hatch, that's the appropriate way of saying it, I could filter down right to lessons all related to that. Brings in my playlist. I have help here for CADLearning support. And then I can also get the view of my goals if I want to here and work through my goals and assessments and so forth. So it has the full power of the portal available to you, but most importantly, it's giving you that immediate help right at the point of need so that you are staying as productive as possible throughout your workday. So that was a lot. Let's go ahead. I'm going to bring up another site. And in this site, this is a demonstration site. I want to show you some of, let me just refresh here. I wanted to show you some of the capabilities available to those that might want to be in their own private branded portal. And so as you can see, I have another menu here. I have a dashboard. This is a demo site. There's not a lot of data here. But what it's really looking at is a lot of the goal-based learning to give you a high-level view of where your users are at. In the Tier 2, you have the ability to manage users in your portal, so giving them specific capabilities or assigning goals and so forth. You have that ability with the user menu. And then you also have the ability to report. So there are a number of reports available. Many of these reports are graphical on screen. So if I wanted to come in, look at a user and see where that user was, I'll pick on myself here in terms of the goal. Of course, it's not going to be nice to me because it's a demo site. Oops. I'm just going to go back to my reports. Anyways, I can take a look and see where users are at a high level. I can schedule reports to come to my inbox, so I don't even have to come here and look at where people are at. Go ahead and go back. We'll look at a few other reports. What most of my customers like is the download reports because they give you everything. You can filter them as you want. If you want to look at specific data, you can do that. You can also connect to your own reporting tools. So if you're using Power BI or Tableau or some other internal reporting tool, you can actually connect to it and grab those reports automatically. So you can get a look at a couple other reports if I want to just on screen see where my users are at. Sorry about that. My mouse just keeps getting away from me. Okay, there we go. So if I just want to come in and say, okay, who's been in the system in the last 60 days and filter it, I can just get a high level graphical view. Again, it's a demo site, so not a ton of data, but just get a sense how much time are my users in the portal. If I want to get that granular look, the best way is to download the reports. At our full enterprise level, you have the capability to do customization. So this is where you can come in and customize our content to fit your needs, the ability to customize our assessments or create your own assessments to fit your specific needs, to add your own content into CADLearning. So I've just clicked on my organization menu, and you notice I have two areas here, one for custom course, one for assessments. If I wanted to come in and create a course from scratch, I'd simply click the Create button, give it a name. I can give it a description if I like, and save it. Since I already have some created courses, I'm not going to start from scratch today. This is a course I've created, and I just gave it a name. I saved it. To get my structure in, Give it a second here to load up. If I want to create my own topics and name them, I simply click Add Topic, give it a name, and save it, just like my course. This is my topic, Revit Essentials. Within my topics, I can add links. So many of you have probably created documents or videos on how to do things internally. You can link right to them. If you want to add downloads or upload your own lessons, we do require you have your own Azure storage instance to keep your intellectual property separate from ours, but we do give you that capability. So I've done some links. I've uploaded a lesson. The beauty of uploading lessons is, I don't think this one's actually completed. I put it up when we started, but if you upload a lesson, you can also have a script that goes along with it. You can associate it with the specific Autodesk command it may be related to, and products. You can add your own questions in to go along with that lesson. And if you want to provide an exercise file or some other resource, you have the ability to do that as well. Now, I may want to create my course from scratch and have it be all just my content, or I may want to use some CADLearning content, but then feather in some of the library content so I don't have to recreate the wheel. I can just use what's already relevant in the library to my organization. So to do that, it's super simple. And again, you can see I've set some preferences here, just so you can take a look at some other content. I'm going to go ahead and open up AutoCAD, which really makes sense for Revit Essentials, but I just want to give you a look at a different library while we're on the phone. So let's say I wanted to grab just this entire topic and drop it right into my library, my Revit Productivity Library. I just do it just like a playlist. I just select it and drop it in. So now if I go back into my course, I can manage it from there. If there are lessons that I don't want, I can delete them, I can move things around, and so forth. So we've made it really simple for you to create your own course from scratch, use our content, feather your own content in however you need to do it. And oh, by the way, just so you know, you're not limited to Autodesk applications. You can put any type of content in the CADLearning portal. So if you're using other applications, if you want to add some safety content or compliance content, you have that ability in CADLearning. We don't limit you in terms of what you can put in your portal. Assessments work a little bit differently, but still very easy to create. So I actually created an assessment to go along with my course, but just so you can see the capabilities here. Sorry, it is a demo site, and they do use it as a test site as well. So there are different types of assessments that you can create. So just like our canned assessments, knowledge and skills-based assessments, pre-hire assessments are something that a lot of my accounts feel are very, very valuable. These can be used for potential candidates that you want to do a skill check on or a knowledge check on. Make sure they walk the talk, so to speak. It doesn't require a license in CADLearning, so you can create these assessments based on the specific needs. Use your questions, use our questions, or a combination. You get the results on the back end. So the candidate gets the assessment, they take it, you get the results on the back end. So valuable because A, you want to make sure you're hiring the person that's a good fit for the position, particularly skills-wise. But also it gives you a sense of, okay, what's the onboarding path going to be for this particular individual? And oh, it's already created for you because they've taken the assessment and everything's tied back to our learning content. We also give you assessment methods. So standard being you can come in and you can change that assessment around as needed. static is fixed. So if you're looking for an apples to apples comparison, I wanted a department to take an AutoCAD assessment before they went through their training. I want them to have their personalized learning path and then come back and retake that assessment so I can see the improvement. That's where a static assessment is very useful. And the dynamic is similar to the way our playlists are. You may select the topics that you want to cover, say the number of questions that you want to have, and every time someone comes in, the system is looking at those topics and just generating a whole new assessment for them. So it's never the same twice. I'm going to go ahead into my assessment that I created. So again, I just gave it a name and I saved it. I want to use CADLearning questions. So I've selected the library that I want to access content from. And you would just select it from the dropdown by typing it in and saved it. And now to get my questions in, I have a couple of options. I can say, okay, I want to use the CADLearning stock assessment. And it would just bring those questions. Those are a subset of all the questions available to you. Or I can say, you know what, I want to add by course. So I'm going to select Revit. And now it's giving me every single topic in Revit. I can select the topic that I want to use or topics, and then look through the questions and pick just the ones that are relevant. So I can just click the add button and it's going to go ahead and take those. So I kind of like this one the best because it gives you every question. And there's quite a few, so you can make sure that you're really closing in on the areas that are important to you. You can also copy our questions and edit them. So maybe if you use different terminology in your organization, we see that sometimes just in different parts of the country. You can go ahead and edit our questions to fit your particular vernacular. If you want to get a look at, okay, what's the answer? You just click on the question and you're going to see what the answer is. You can also add in your own answers as well. So you do have that ability. I'm going to go back to my questions here. And I didn't save those questions before. And you can also add your own questions in. So it can be true, false, multiple choice, fill in the blank, whatever you'd like, and add it here. And again, just like creating something in the library, it can be any assessment on anything. So it could be safety or compliance or HR information.